Hey, what's going on, everyone? Joe Menza here, and we're going to do another lovely painting, doing it on my flat table here as opposed to my easel, which, if you're going to be using a lot of water and using kind of the running method, that's the way to do it. And then you can tilt your board any way that you like. Or if you have like an easel with a board that lays flat and you can take the arm and turn it, that helps too. But this method here, you use more than likely it would be better to use a cold press paper. This way the paint kind of lays on top, and then you can allow things to run and move and kind of get that nice effect, that Turner look to your painting, that JMW Turner effect. And so for this one, it would be a good one to show, sort of a sea or water scene, which would be, I'm going to call this one a Key West sunset, because I was in Key West a few months back and took some pictures. And always what you want to see, people will flock down to the particular areas there just to see the sunsets over the water. And I took some nice photos when I was there, so I have a few to go through. And sunset photos are always very, very nice. And for that, you're going to want to look for something like along the lines of an orange glow in the sky. And orange can be very difficult to do because the colors dry back, they're not as intense, and you can't quite seem to capture that yellow-orange glow. So use a very strong orange pigmented paint. You can get orange, you can combine red and yellow to make an orange. Sometimes it can be hit or miss because it goes more to the red, more to the yellow. So it's something you're going to have to experiment with. But if you put it on good and strong like this, you should be okay. So for that, I've applied it with the large hake. And just letting that sit for a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to add a little bit of blue to the sky, because as the sun starts to go down, you still have blue sort of in the upper atmosphere, upper layers. So I'm going to put on some good strong blue in here. And then we'll kind of let that run down into the orange. And then maybe create some clouds. If you don't want clouds, you can just leave it as sun. I do rather like clouds in the sky. Not necessarily stormy clouds, although that can have a certain atmospheric effect if you're looking for that in your painting. But I do like to have clouds in the sky. I know there's some people out there, interestingly, that they like just a blue sky and not a cloud in the sky, but I'm one that likes clouds. So you'll see me add them a lot of times in paintings. Not necessarily really not necessary, but I just think that they add a certain element to the sky. So you can see here I'm letting this run, I'm tilting my board, and I've added some blue for the water down below. And you can see we're getting that traditional sort of where the clouds are kind of pointing toward the middle. And I've dabbed out a little bit to capture the little bit of sun, a little bit of a bright spot in the middle there. And you can do that with a towel. I mean, so you can dab that out and create like a light spot, paint around it, let the paint run back into it. You can wrap a coin in a paper towel and turn it if you want a perfectly round spot. And here I'm just going to dab a little out, just to dab some here and there, just to create some different textures and things. And I can dab paint back in, I can dab paint out. While it's wet like this is one of those things that you kind of just have to take by faith when you're painting with watercolor. Any other medium, what you put on the paper or canvas or whatever, that's what you will have when it dries. But watercolor is unique because it doesn't dry exactly the way it looks right when you're painting it. So you almost want to let it dry at the end when you've pretty much done. You can come back and make little changes, but it tends to dry flatter. When the water absorbs into the paper, the look of the paint laying on there it changes. And so you just kind of have to put it down and kind of get a sense of what you're after. And then let the drying process in the water do its work. Once it's dry, you you'll actually be surprised at how good it is. And a lot of the fussing you did actually will, or if you do any fussing, is actually impeding that process. If you just trust the process and let it do its thing and dry, and you come back, you'll be pleasantly surprised at the results. And you may have some where you fussed and, you know, went and you did a lot, and then you might have one you did in a few minutes that looks great, and you start to think to yourself, why did I work so hard on this one? And yet this other one I did in just a couple of minutes is so good because it has spontaneity, it dried, it just, you know, you let it do its thing. And that's why I like doing this particular method from time to time, where you lay the paper flat, don't let anything run unless you want it to, and use a fair amount of water, not too much water. I find if you're doing this and you really give the paper a bath, the colors will get really light when it dries. They'll be super light, washed out, or the colors get like super dark, darker than when you were working, almost like a dirty tinge to them. So there is a little bit of a little bit more than goes into than just blind luck. So I'm going to give this a dry. I don't want this dripping around too much anymore, just enough to kind of set it a little bit. Okay, I've dabbed away some of the paint from the top and let it dry just to get more of a cloud effect. Putting the mat on and just getting a look how it looks here. And I thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the YouTube version. There's a longer version available on Patreon and for members of the channel. I'm just going to go ahead and pop in a couple of birds here, and that'll be the end of another video, and I will see everyone next time. Thanks for watching.